Hey, this is Blob. Blob lives in the United States. He's soft, he's round. He doesn't know how taxes work and eats cereal out of a mixing bowl. But Blob is also curious. One day, Blob wakes up and decides he needs a break from Costco lines, Super Bowl ads, and being offered ranch dressing with everything. So he plans a vacation to Germany. He dreams of castles, sausages, efficiency, and bread that isn't pre-sliced. He books his flight, packs way too many USB cables, and heads to the airport. But as he reaches the currency exchange booth to convert his US dollars into euros, something weird happens. He hands over $100 and receives only 91 euros. Blob squints. His soft face contorts into confusion. Was there a discount he missed? A tax? A German bread tariff? No. He's just been introduced to a concept far more mysterious than the European train schedule: exchange rates. For the first time in his gelatinous little life, Blob realizes that not all money is worth the same amount. And he's about to fall down a rabbit hole that's deeper, dumber, and far more dangerous than it looks. You see, currencies have different values because they're essentially price tags on countries. A dollar isn't just a piece of paper with a dead guy's face on it. It's a reflection of how much the world trusts the United States to be stable, productive, and not explode financially. The same goes for the euro, the yen, the pound, the peso, and the South Sudanese pound that hyperinflated so hard it turned into confetti. When Blob swaps dollars for euros, what he's really doing is trading a little piece of America for a little piece of Europe. And the price of that trade is constantly changing based on millions of people, companies, banks, and governments placing bets on who they trust more right now. Let's simplify. Imagine the global economy as a giant stock market, but instead of trading shares of Apple or Tesla, people are trading entire countries. When investors think the US economy is doing well, low inflation, high growth, political stability, they want to own dollars. That demand pushes the value of the dollar up. When things get shaky, high debt, low confidence, elections that look more like cage matches, people sell dollars and buy something safer. Currencies don't just reflect economic health, they reflect political credibility. Investors don't care what a country says about itself, they care whether its government will still exist next quarter. This happens in reverse for every other currency. The euro goes up when Europe seems calm and united and productive. It goes down when half the Eurozone is on fire and the other half is pretending it's fine. This constant push and pull creates floating exchange rates, where currencies rise and fall based on market demand. The US dollar might be worth 0.91 euros today, 0.95 next week, or 0.87 next month. And none of it is random. It's a reflection of inflation, interest rates, trade balances, economic output, political risk, and, let's be honest, vibes. Let's look at a real-world example. In 2009, Zimbabwe's currency hyperinflated so catastrophically that it made headlines for issuing a $100 trillion banknote. Yes, trillion. Why? Because the government printed money like it was monopoly cash to cover budget deficits. The result was pure chaos. At one point, prices were doubling every 24 hours. People needed wheelbarrows of cash to buy groceries. The Zimbabwean dollar became so worthless that locals preferred using US dollars or South African rand instead. Eventually, Zimbabwe scrapped its own currency entirely. That's right, they literally gave up on having their own money. That's what happens when a currency loses all credibility. Without trust, money is just fancy toilet paper. Now compare that to Japan. The Japanese yen is famously stable, even though Japan has massive national debt and an aging population. Why? Because people trust the Japanese government to pay its debts. Japan owns most of its own debt. Its central bank controls interest rates with surgical precision. And Japan isn't trying to conquer the world with NFTs or banana republic politics. It might have a stagnant economy and a shrinking population, but stability beats chaos every time in the eyes of global investors. Investors see the yen as a safe haven, a currency that holds its value during crises. So when the world gets scary, like during a pandemic or a war in Europe, investors buy yen. The same happens with the Swiss franc or the US dollar. That's why, ironically, bad news in the world can make the dollar stronger, not weaker. But let's go back to Blob. Standing at that airport kiosk, he doesn't know any of this. He just wants a fair deal. And he won't get one because currency exchange rates aren't just based on economics. They're also shaped by policy manipulation. Countries often interfere with their currency values to help themselves. For example, China has been accused of deliberately weakening the yuan to make Chinese exports cheaper. If Chinese goods are cheaper abroad, more people buy them, and that boosts China's economy. It's like giving your exports a secret discount. Other countries peg their currencies to more stable ones. Saudi Arabia pegs the rial to the US dollar to maintain price stability in oil markets. That means their central bank has to constantly buy and sell dollars to keep the exchange rate fixed. It works until it doesn't. In 1997, Thailand tried to maintain a peg to the US dollar, but investors lost confidence in the Thai economy and started pulling money out. The Thai central bank ran out of reserves trying to defend the peg. Eventually, it gave up. The baht collapsed. And the Asian financial crisis was born, wiping out billions in wealth across the continent. So yeah, exchange rates, they're not just numbers. They're weapons, tools, pressure points. Entire governments rise and fall based on whether people believe in their money. Let's not forget about the euro, Blob's new favorite currency. The euro is used by 20 countries, from Germany to Portugal to Estonia. They all share one central bank, the European Central Bank, but they don't all share the same economy. Germany is productive, export-driven, and disciplined. Greece, on the other hand, spent the 2000s borrowing like a college student with their first credit card. When the global financial crisis hit in 2008, Greece couldn't pay its debts. It needed a bailout, but it couldn't print its own money because the ECB controls the euro. So Greece had to accept strict austerity in exchange for rescue money. The result? A decade of recession, protests, and the phrase Grexit becoming a household term. That's the dark side of a shared currency. Countries give up control over their monetary policy. They can't devalue their way out of trouble. If the US economy slows down, the Federal Reserve can cut interest rates and print money. If Spain's economy slows down, it has to wait for the ECB to act, assuming Germany agrees. So while the euro is strong in theory, in practice, it's a political compromise wrapped in economic duct tape, and its value reflects that. The strength of the euro often reflects the strength of Germany more than it does the average of the Union, because markets know who's really carrying the weight. Back to Blob. He's noticed that the price of a McDonald's meal in Germany is slightly different from back home. And now he's learned about something called purchasing power parity. That's the idea that over time, exchange rates should adjust so that the same basket of goods costs the same in every country. If a Big Mac costs $5 in the US and €4.50 in Germany, then the exchange rate should eventually settle around $1 with 0.009 cents. But it doesn't always, because there are distortions, taxes, wages, demand, subsidies, and good old-fashioned inefficiency. So economists use things like the Big Mac index to compare currency values in a funny but serious way. A weak currency can help a country export more by making its goods cheaper abroad, but it also makes imports expensive and hurts consumers. A strong currency helps consumers buy more, but it can hurt exporters by making their products too pricey overseas. Governments constantly have to juggle these competing interests. Blob's vacation is almost over. He's had schnitzel, saw castles, got lost twice, and accidentally tipped a bartender with a train ticket. But he's learned something important. Currency isn't just money. It's power, it's politics, it's perception. And the next time he exchanges dollars for euros, he'll know that he's not just swapping paper. He's participating in one of the weirdest, most volatile markets on Earth. And as Blob boards his flight home, stuffed with pretzels and existential dread, he asks himself the one question he's still too scared to answer. What happens if no one trusts any currency anymore? But that is for another video.